Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to make a video that more so has to do with mental health and I guess spirituality, depending on which way you're looking at it. If you've been following my channel, you know that I do beauty videos, but I've been kind of trying to figure out how to incorporate more feel-good videos and more inspirational videos into my content because I feel like it's important, and I feel like we all have times where it can be kind of difficult to process our emotions and to process everything that happens. So I want to kind of be a resource for people and, you know, maybe even build a little bit of a community where we can talk about how we deal with things that happen in the world. So today I'd like to talk about anger. Anger is a very powerful emotion. I feel like it is a simple emotion with a lot of weight. When I was in college, I studied Far Eastern religion for a semester, and ever since then I've been learning little things about Far Eastern religion, and those religions would include things like, or religions like Buddhism and Hinduism and so on and so forth. And I find that those religions are a lot about living holistically and making sure that the mind is very even, not too focused on any type of conflict or any internal conflict. So there is a text and it's called the Bhagavad Gita. I think I'm saying that right. I started reading it a couple months ago. I'm reading it very slowly. I'm taking my time to digest it and really try to understand it. I do feel like there's a lot we can learn from different religions, even if we don't completely understand those religions yet. There are just a lot of lessons and a lot of stories and a lot of metaphors that we can chew on and kind of relate back to our own lives and try to figure out. So one of the quotes within the text really stood out to me, and it says, from anger, delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down into the material pool. So basically, what that quote says to me is that when one becomes angry, they lose sense of self. And once they lose that sense of self, they begin to act recklessly, whether it's physically or verbally or mentally. And once that sense of self is lost, they fall down into this mental state of nothingness, which a lot of the times can be blind rage, or when you're acting simply based off of emotion and not your intelligence or what you know better, or how you know better, how you know how to act. So anger can be different for every individual. A lot of times we associate anger with yelling and screaming and throwing things. But for some people, anger can be calm. Anger can be quiet. Anger can be saying mean, malicious, and vindictive things just to hurt someone just because that person themselves is hurting. You know, it doesn't come in the same package for everyone. If you're a person who gets angry often, that doesn't necessarily make you the bad guy. That doesn't necessarily make you an evil person or a bad person, not at all. But I think that when we get angry, it's very important for us to know why we are getting angry. Or if the situation is past, why did we get angry? In my personal opinion, anger is, or when we get angry, it's because something triggered us. And a lot of the times the situation that triggered us was not that serious or that big of a deal in the first place. Ever since reading that part of the Gita, I have promised myself that I will do everything within my power to stop myself from getting to that place. Personally, anger for me, it's not It's not something I experience often at all. But if I get to the point, then it's like an explosion. And that explosion is definitely something that is unnecessary and never cool. And I always, always, always regret it. I think the majority of people regret what they do and say when they get angry. So it's kind of best for our mental state to stop before we get to that point. And then the complicated part is figuring out, like, how do I stop? How do I tell myself, chill out, don't get there yet? I'm not saying do not feel your emotions, because no matter what happens to us, we have to feel. We have to understand how things make us feel. But anger is a different emotion than frustration. Anger is a different emotion than disappointment. Anger is different. Anger is solely negative. There is no light within that emotion, and no positivity can come from negativity. I feel like with emotions like frustration and disappointment, there's always, a way you can analyze, like, this frustrated me because, and then figure out how to change it or make it better. But with anger, because there's not a lot of sense of self, there's not a lot of thought that goes into being angry. There's just not a lot you can do to better yourself through that emotion, so it's kind of unnecessary. When we get angry in situations, it's kind of just like putting a red filter over the situation. It's when we're already in that state of anger, it's like we're removed from reality. And all of a sudden our brain has to justify being angry. So we have to tell ourselves, well, this is what the situation is. This is what that person meant to say. This is what that person meant when they did this to me. We make up all these things and all these reasons to be angry because at the time the anger feels right. So I think it's really important that we realize that the anger is not necessary. The emotions that we feel are necessary, but the anger is not necessary. And it's important to separate ourselves from that. If you're a person who gets angry often, I think it's important to analyze what you're getting angry at. Are you getting angry at a lot of different people and a lot of situations? Because if that's the case, hate to say it, but that's something that you need to handle. Again, it doesn't make you a bad person, or it doesn't, make you the bad guy, but you do need to figure out why, because being angry is draining. Being angry is a lot, so you have to figure out why all these different situations are, to you, it's worth it to get that emotionally involved for all these different situations. If it's not a lot of different situations, if it's a specific person or your company that makes you angry, then you have to figure out, are these people I need to be around? Are they people that provoke you, kind of poking you? Because that's not healthy either. Some people have different methods for helping them to not get angry. For example, counting to 10. Personally, I like to meditate. I'm a person who removes myself from the situation, and I sit back and I think about, all these confusing feelings that I have and what they mean and why I'm having them. It's very important to figure out how to deal with the emotions before they get to the point where we can't control them anymore. But yeah, anger is a lot. And I can promise you that the things that we do and say when we're angry, it's not us. It's not who you are. It's not your true self. And we should never be acting in ways that are separate from our true selves, because those aren't actions that we would do normally. So anger is definitely an emotion that we should try to avoid at all costs, and instead we should try to monitor our emotions and monitor situations and just try to figure out what we can do to make sure that we are keeping our emotional best interest at heart. because that's what's important. How do you deal with anger? What do you think anger is? Do you think anger is necessary? Because if you do, totally disagree with me. Totally, I get it. I would like to learn your viewpoint though, so make sure you leave a comment down below. Make sure you tell me what you think. I would love to talk about this openly, so no matter what your opinion, please share it because I want to hear it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.